Namaskaram everyone. Good afternoon. Today is January 14, the Bogi Pongal day, the day we cleanse all the old stuff and make way for new. But in the context of eternity, this doesn't apply, right? Because eternal is the soul. Eternal is the truth, and that is the true reality. What do you mean by true reality? Because real, we think, is something that is contextually present. Contextually, there is no dinosaur now. Many of the old actors aren't there. So contextually, only certain things are real, we may think, but the true reality is the truth. And there's only one thing that threads all this, and that is yourself, the Atman. So that is the only thing that is eternal, and it has to hold this truth. And who gave all this such clear fundamental? It is none other than Ramana Maharshi. That's why I attribute a couple of his works equivalent to entire work of Acharya, Adi Shankara, as well as the Vedic scriptures, because Vedic scriptures explain about everything, the nature itself, the creation, all that it comes, because it is Vedas that gave birth to the language, the linguistics, the modes of expression, so that this animal could understand that it is a divine being. So no question, it is Vedas of the highest, and in every form, everything has to be contained in that, because the mind itself was contained in Vedas. So no question, even this is an outcome of that only. But we have to sometimes take objective perspective. I was explaining that in a different context. There is, it's a double-edged sword, this objectivity. What is this objective? In Tamil, it becomes பொருளாற்றல் நினைக்கிறேன். I don't know. I'll keep it to this in English only. So, objective, பொருள். So, பொருளாற்றல். So, objectivity is like, I have a head, this is head of Shankar, this is hand of Shankar, this is a book of Shankar and all that, right? But that is separating it out, that is the mountain of Tiruvannamalai, this is the land of Tiruvannamalai, everything is Tiruvannamalai ultimately. So objective, one should only use it with a limited context. Until you flip your mind to subjective notion, you cannot come out of this body-mind centeredness. So in the Deham, Manam என்ற குறுகிய மனப்பான்மையிலேருந்து வெளியில் வரணும்னா objectivity இழக்கணும். We have to lose the objectivity. So, well, anyway, but sometimes you do need to take an objective look at things. So, where was I? So, yeah, Ramana Bhagavan to me is everything, because I have read all the other, Vedanta scriptures in English many years ago, decades, but it was only, I haven't gone past Ulladu Narpadu first paragraph, and I haven't gone past first paragraph of Dakshinamurti Sostra, because I didn't need to. One sentence said it all. And what is the outside in the world is reflected, imagine in a mirror that is kept on top of a hill. Vice versa is your mind. Mind is reflecting everything outside. So contextually, everything has to be inside. So what is inside is only projected outside. So then you have to take a subjective look. So you have to look at everything in a subjective manner, So, then in that context, everything becomes an extension. Somewhere there should be Jackie, and she's an extension of me, and not even an extension. Extension still gives a subjective outlook. Subjective outlook means it's one, and that is only thing that can give you Advaita also. So, that's what Girivalam is all about, right? I mean, on the right side, can you feel the mountain? Then only Girivalam makes sense, right? You have to be centered, That stillness is a invocation of a stillness within you. Anyway, so on this day, we are supposed to let go of all the old things and keep it afresh for new. But in eternal context, I was just bringing this subject, saying that there is nothing to let go because everything is eternal. But still, one can let go of our attitudes and all that, whatever the mental tendencies. Mental tendencies are nothing but vasanas. Just like how a odor or a perfume smell is sticking to that, the substance that wafts the smell, whether good or bad. So likewise, we are stuck with our mental tendencies. So we have to let go of that. And why is it there? We'll come to all that, and then we have to basically break down the mind. The chattering mind has to become chanting mind. The chanting, praying mind. The chanting, praying mind eventually will become, find its way to be that mind that has absorbed the silence. And in that silence is everything, right? So, yeah, I wanted to just take a moment of silence right there. Yeah, we have to breathe like that. Not just a breath of silence. Try to do that in your life. How many times you do that, it will be like a injection. Practice to a point where it becomes natural, like breathing. Even the baby doesn't know how to breathe, right? Practices as soon as it comes out. So, in one question everybody would have is, everything is divine, everything is subjective, then why do I need to go and do this and that? And why don't I feel that divinity right within? And what is missing then? Well, if you just peel another layer, what is missing is the awareness to this fact. Awareness to this very fact. And again, here I want to do a play of words. It is not a facade. See, just because, of course, I dressed up a little bit cleaner just to put myself in front of a video, but this facade is not the piety inside. Piety, not pity, piety. So, again, what do I mean there? And I wrote this on January 1st. Instead of meditating on that day, I was given a book, so I thought, let me jot down some thoughts instead of killing the thoughts, which I do normally. It is the nature of the mind to be objective. This is the important thing we need to understand. Our mind is always objective. It only knows to be objective. That's why I said, Veda birthed the mind, the language in the modern man. Let's keep it at that context. And then it gave the Vedanta too, the end root. That's why we have to preserve both the pillars as well as the roof. So mind became a primary device, a faculty, a utility, a feature. Feature for what? The entire consciousness itself, because the consciousness cannot know consciousness. In the silence, you have to lose yourself, or else it's not silence. If you say, my silence is disturbed, nothing is disturbed actually. My attempt to be silent is disturbed, maybe is okay. I hope it makes sense. So the Brahman consciousness, Chaitanya. So, but we are meant to be objective. How? Objective is our signals. My eyes see certain view and it shows certain differentiation. I can see, you can see too, in the sky there is cloud, there is blue sky, there is mountain, and the mountain has got a profile. There is a building, maybe not, you can see that, but there are some stones. All this is mind. Mind as one of the senses. Likewise, you hear, along with my talking, you will hear a buzz of something else going on, people banging here as construction is going on. So all these different senses. So we know all the 5 senses when we have gone past all that. So likewise smells and touch, different touches, you know the coarse touch from smooth touch, from a fur that we touch. We feel everybody likes to touch a fur, all that. And what else? And there is also thoughts, and even that is objective. See, nobody can say I have a continuous thought, continuously jumping thoughts, yes, but not one thought. If you have continuously one thought, that's a good thought. That is japam. Japam is also a thought, a continuous one thought. Thinking of God continuously is a good thought, but it is never so, because thought itself is a contained element, and once it becomes a contained element, it has to live either in past or in future. We know all that. Everybody knows all this nowadays. Everybody gets all this content, but the question is that dwell on it. It's like a pickle. We have to be soaked in it. When does the pickle taste good? When it is really, really soaked, right? And we have to soak ourselves. So everything is boxed and boxed and boxed. So even thought is a boxing of things, layers of object. Mind likes to put everything in encapsulation. That's a computer programming word, or even otherwise, encapsulation, capsulation. We all know capsule because it has got powder inside. So yeah, so mind is all about sensory objects and thoughts and all that. So even everything we see, a fun fact or whatever, everything is in past 8 minutes, because sunlight comes it takes 8 minutes for sun to come from sun. So there is no current is only you, always you. Okay, so and so even the God is only a God if you are having the Arunachala within you. Can you make a dead body see that Arunachaleshwara? No. Dead body is dead. How can dead body see the Arunachaleshwara? Feel the Arunachaleshwara. So who is the God here? Within you is the God, not you as a personality. That's what we're trying to understand, getting past the mind. So, all right, so the being, the divine is within. Okay, and the divine is always pure, and divine is always undisturbed. It is always peaceful, and but the thing is, it's always in contention, happy, contented, sorry. It's always in happily contented. Whether you are a beggar or a king, the divine within you is always contented, right? So all this is why? Because the consciousness has got certain intents, and it is executing those intents as in like letter of intent. Everybody who's adult know about in the business world, letter of intent. Like you have a plan to do something, it's a letter of intent. Nishchitartham is a intent to get married. Likewise, a contract. Everything has, so this consciousness has got a lot of intents that it executes through you. And why through you? Because you want to continue that. You, consciousness will anytime, it's like you can go into a movie theater. I didn't write this, it is flashing to me. You buy a ticket and go into the movie theater. That is the existence. That is the Maya ticket, let us say. Anytime you can walk out of the movie theater. Nobody will say you got to watch this movie completely. No. Anytime you can get liberated. Okay? But if you watch Avatar 1, too bad. You have to watch Avatar 2, and now he is making Avatar 3. Is going to cut that, and then Avatar 4, and he is going to write 5 and 6 also. Too bad. What about Bahubali 2? Do you think he's going to stop at Bahubali 2? He's going to start again after all this, Golden Globe and not to dance. He's going to not let it go. So that's commercial world. I had to spice it up to make it a little bit interesting to this narrative. So what's going to happen? No, I mean not Bahubali 3 and 4 we're talking about, yeah. So you are in this theater. So you can anytime step out. Anytime you can get liberated. But you won't, because if you have decided to continue doing so. I'm sorry to take a little bit of a very stark, gross example, but to make a point. A serial killer becomes a serial killer because he is a serial killer. He has to continue killing. Why? His mind has corrupted in that direction because it's experiencing that, whatever it is, for his prarabdha. Now we have to explain all this with prarabdha, and it's like an entropy. The energy has to bleed out. The tsunami has to destroy a few cities before the water levels out. The energy has been released. So, but any time everybody can be liberated, because the prarabdha is only for outward mind. Now, if the mind is understood and you take that energy, because everything is at the end of the day is an energy, prana, atman, the atman itself is a representation of consciousness. It's funneling through this portal, right? So it is expressing itself. You can put a start to that by taking the mind inward. And by taking the mind inward, I just wrote a song on this. Maybe I'll put that song now. It's like giving the snake its own tail to bite. So the mind will start chewing itself, because the mind, which is always trying to be objective, if you ask the mind to say, find out who you are. Nanyar is basically asking the mind to know who it is. So the mind will say, wait a minute, I know everything from objective sense and thought. This is not a thought, this is not a sense. So who am I? Then it's struck. In American or in English, there is shell shock. In war, if people, when you shout a lot, people will be shocked. Sometimes when I raise my voice, even my mother has said, don't raise your voice, it shocks me. Yeah, we all get, when people raise their voice too high, it shocks the other person, shell shocked. So mind is shocked when this truth is revealed. Who am I? Who am I? Not a question to be answered, but that question trips the mind. It's like a number divided by 0. How many parts it has got? If you give me 10 and say divide by 2, I can say, 5 each. But 10 divided by 0, how much? Infinite, because I don't know how much to divide this by. Infinity. So mind becomes infinity immediately when you ask it to find itself. And in that process, it loses its existence, because its existence is only Bahirmukhi. It doesn't have this existence inward. Then it embraces the silence, and the silence is consciousness. Consciousness or Brahman or Chaitanyam. It becomes pure because it's no more yours. That mountain, is it mine? Is it not belonging to everybody who is viewing this and who is not even viewing this? That's why they say thinking of Arunachala is liberation, because it's stillness. These are all deeply embedded truths, actually. That is symbolism, that's all. Symbolism for eternal concept. A soul itself, we can say. Symbolism for a soul. We all need some symbol. Infinity. It can also be an infinity. So that's the nature. Once you find out the nature, so ultimately ego has to go away. If ego is there, the play is on and on and on and on. Mind is again part of ego only. It's why it is so? Because ego is that intent. Ego has got a purpose. Ego, you don't go into a restaurant and just come out just to see the interior decoration of the restaurant. Did you go there? Or to look at the chef or the cashier or count the number of chairs? No, you went into a restaurant to eat something, drink something. Same thing. Mind is there for ego. So how will ego go? Only one way, sir. Everybody, madam, sir. You have to face the abundance of grace. Abundance of grace. Anugraham. Anugraha. Grace alone will liberate you. Because that is the only thing that will flatten your ego to make it go down. Not in gestures. Literally. People have ego to even ask another person, what will he think of me if I ask to take a loan? All these things, little stupid ego we got, but that is needed because it is the force in which everything else is going on. So once ego is gone, and ego will go only by grace, once that grace happens, and when will the grace happen? When the intention is done. And why does the intention stop? It has to stop anytime. When can I stop seeing Avatar series? Anytime. Anytime you can stop seeing Avatar series. You can stop halfway through Avatar 2, never go to Avatar 2 in movie theater, even if it comes as a freebie in your one of your subscribed channels. You don't want to watch it. Ponniyin Selvan, you can decide right now, I will not see Ponniyin Selvan 2. I hate Ponniyin Selvan, I will not see it. You can decide that. No need to hate. You just can decide that. I don't want Ponniyin Selvan. But mind has to want that. Ego has to want that behind that. Because mind will enjoy the screen. This scenario is sky and mountain, and Ponniyin Selvan is another screen. I didn't mean to say Arunachala is another screen, and what I'm trying to say, if you get the core intent, mind is going to enjoy anything you project in front of it. Your ego has to stop seeing all that. So when does ego subside? When it is done. And when does that happen? By grace. And that's why you say, I surrender, Lord, I'm done. What do you do when you have a good friend and he invites you and he keeps on giving you jalebi? Arey yaar, band kar de. Vandanga saattutenga tinnesanandi. Note. Chaana bagundandi. Petanni paripoyindi. Oddandi. Vandam. Tinnu mudichachu njan. Inni vandam. You do that. You do all the gestures because you're done. You have to say that to Lord. Lord, I'm done. I don't want to write a book. I don't want an Oscar. I don't want to be a king of the world. I don't want Menaka. I don't want Aishwarya. I don't want anybody. I don't want even Aishwaryam. Only give me the Jnanam. Jnanam as an Aishwaryam you give me. I don't want any other Aishwaryam. Today itself, let this building fall. This is, let it fall. So that I can go and sit in the Girivalam. Okay, what will happen to your mother? Oh, something will happen. God will take care. How that is surrendering. Next moment, He will take care. Then mind is done. But even mind, it wakes up even in Lord, and that's what it is creation. Yoga Nidra, the Lord is in. We can experience all this in deep sleep. We'll talk about that another time. Because we are already realized every night in the deep sleep. But only in the wakeful state you will, because you have to be awake to know that, because in a silent state you are merged, truly silent state you are merged with God. But when you wake up, you become that container, and then you have to reflect on, wow, I had a peaceful sleep. So even Lord Himself is woken by His own tamas and rajas, and I'll talk about Devi Mahatmyam, the initial part of it. It's very interesting. We'll talk about it in the next this thing, and why it is. I got few more things I have written. I got a lot to express. I guess I don't know. Until then, Arunachala Siva, Arunachala Siva, Arunachala Siva. Gurubhyo Namah.